The holiday season is upon us, and that means New Year's is coming up, which means new goals, new resolutions, and new running shoes for all of you. Whether you're trying to get back into running, you're starting running for the first time, or you are trying to hit a new running goal, daily trainers are always going to be part of that conversation. Which one are you gonna pick? There's so many options out there right now, and it can be really confusing, and there could be a lot to digest and take in, but we're here to help you out, and we've got 7 daily trainers that we think that you should at least check out right here at Fleet Feet. And just to clarify, there is no single best daily trainer. It's really just a matter of preference. It's gonna be a matter of fit. It's gonna be a matter of feel, and really what you're looking for and what you like. So what qualifies as a daily trainer? For someone who doesn't even know what a daily trainer is, it's basically that everyday shoe. It's gonna be the one that you're gonna be able to walk in, you're gonna be able to run in, you're gonna be able to do your moderate day runs in, you're gonna be able to do your long run days in. It's basically going to cover most of the runs that you're gonna need to do throughout your training cycle. And it's gonna have neutral features. And we don't mean that in the sense of neutral versus stability. We mean that in that it's just going to be very accommodating, and it's going to be a neutral type of shoe. It's going to have enough cushioning on foot, but it's not gonna be too soft or too firm. It's not gonna have a carbon plate in it. It's not gonna have all these different bells and whistles. And the reason why we like to tell people to start with daily trainers is because it's a really good place to start. It's a really good base point, and then you can start tinkering into race day shoes and speed day shoes and super trainers and all of these different options, but it really starts with that base with a daily trainer. And of course, the last thing is going to be budget. Some daily trainers are going to cost less than, say, super trainers or race day options, so it's going to be a little bit friendlier on the wallet. It's going to be a little bit more inviting and a little bit more accommodating from a price point, but it's still going to have really nice technology in it. And there are so many different brands creating great daily trainers out there. It's really hard to not go to a brand and not find one that you like. There are going to be a ton of different brands that we're going to be featuring here, so let's dive in. We just absolutely love bringing these reviews to you. Our team is working and thinking tirelessly about topics and information to bring to you, whether it's daily trainers or race day shoes. All these different reviews are thought out and curated to help you best meet your running goals. So if you do want to show your support, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us with putting out new videos. But the first daily trainer that we're going to talk about, and it is just an absolute classic, and you probably could have guessed it yourself, and that is the Hoka Clifton 9. The Hoka Clifton 9 is one of the most popular running shoes from Hoka, and it is just a really nice tried and true daily trainer. The upper is made up of an engineered knit mesh upper. The tongue isn't gusseted, but we had no issue with any midfoot wrapping. There is a heel collar here that flares out a little bit, which helps with anyone who's dealing with any tendonitis or Achilles problems. And just overall, from a fit and lockdown perspective, it really fits well. The upper is comfortable from a step and feel and a lockdown perspective, and the lacing system is pretty standard. The midsole is made up of EVA, and like we said before, it isn't too soft and it's not too firm either. And the drop of the shoe comes in at 5 millimeters with 37 in the heel and 32 in the forefoot for the women's model, and 38 in the heel and 33 in the heel for the men's model. So it is going to have that ample cushioning like we said a daily trainer should have. And on the outside, there is some traditional rubber here. There isn't full rubber coverage, but there is pretty much on like 80 or 90% of the shoe, there is going to be enough coverage and in the areas that you need it. And just from an overall ride and performance standpoint, Kate really enjoyed how lightweight and soft this shoe felt, especially on step-in, but she did mention that it is firm enough that she could just really react and pop off of that shoe in a stable way, and it does have some nice energy return. And she's been running in the Clifton since 2016, and she definitely found that it adds tons of value to her running experience. And so the Clifton is just one of those shoes that when you put it on, you can't really go wrong. And I've run in a few models of the Clifton now, and I gotta say, this is just one of those shoes that is a total workhorse. You're gonna be able to put the miles in, you're gonna be able to get tons and tons and tons of miles in this one, and it's still going to feel really good on foot. for a long time. So from a durability perspective, you're definitely getting your money's worth. And the weight of this shoe, like we mentioned, it is pretty lightweight. The men's model comes in at 8.7 ounces or 246 grams for the men's model, and 7.3 ounces or 206 grams for the women's model. And the shoe comes in at $145, which is around the same price point as a lot of other daily trainers out there right now. Moving on to the next one, we gotta just keep this thing going. Let's just keep pumping these out, is the Ride 18. This is actually a shoe that we haven't actually reviewed yet, so you're getting it for the first time. We've talked a lot about the Ride 17. Not too much has changed from the 17 to the 18. Much like the last model of the shoe, this one has Power Run Plus in it as well, and it still feels great on foot. The shoe keeps with an engineered mesh upper, and overall it is still that nice plush and comfortable step and feel and ride. And since from the last model to this one hasn't really changed very much, there is still a nice accommodating and roomy toe box. And like we mentioned, the Power Run Plus is in this shoe, which is different than a couple years ago when they had just had normal Power Run in it, which is going to be a little bit of a softer, more accommodating and faster foam. And the midsole is made up of polyurethane, which is a different compound than that of EVA. EVA was the foam that you could find in the Clifton, but in this one it's polyurethane, but it's still really nice on foot. And the drop of this shoe comes in at 8 millimeters with 35 in the heel and 27 in the forefoot. And from an outsole perspective, there is really nice traditional rubber coverage. Not much has changed from the last version to this one. And one of our reviewers, Travis, who is actually a former outfitter from our store in Fleet Feet, Pittsburgh, had a lot to say about this shoe. He actually found that Saucony, in his opinion, is one of the best brands when it comes to dialing in fit. The Ride 18 for him just continues on that tradition of striking a great balance between simplicity, lightness, and comfortability. And he is right, this shoe is pretty light, and the men's model only comes in at 9.1 ounces or 257 grams, and the women's model at 8 ounces or 226 grams, and the shoe costs $140, which is only $5 less than that of the Clifton. And next, we're moving on to a shoe that you probably even have on your feet right now. That's how many of these shoes get sold each year. They pretty much get sold like hotcakes, and that is the Brooks Ghost 16. This is one of Brooks's top selling daily trainers along with the Glycerin, and it is a neutral daily trainer. It's just that classic running staple that everyone who's kind of gone through the running system for a long time and has tried a bunch of shoes on, they've at least put their foot in this one when they've walked into a retail store or bought it online. And much like other Brooks shoes, this shoe has a really nice warm and thick upper, so when it is cold right now and you're looking for that wintry shoe and you just want something that's going to be nice and protective on foot, Brooks makes some really nice warm and cozy uppers. And not only that, but the tongue is nice and padded, and so is the heel collar, so you're gonna get a really nice, plush, comfortable, locked in fit. And the midsole is made up of DNA Loft, which is a nitrogen infused midsole, which is something that Brooks loves to do with a lot of their shoes. It's just that process of when it's a really small puck, and then they pump nitrogen into it, and then they expand it out and shape it into what you see here. And overall, this is a little bit on the firmer side for a feeling shoe, but it still has that nice cushioning to it, and it still has a decent stack height as well. But overall, it is a lower profile ride than some of the other shoes that we've been talking about. And the stack of the shoe actually comes in at 34.5 in the heel and 22.5 in the toe, and that is for the full midsole stack with a 12 millimeter drop. So it has a nice aggressive drop, but again, it has ample cushioning with 34 millimeters in the heel. And from an outsole perspective, there are really nice thick outsole lugs here, so you are going to get really nice traction and grip and durability out of this shoe. And this shoe is that perfect beginner runner shoe for anyone who's just trying to get into running for the first time. They want a great walking shoe, they want something that's really versatile and that's just going to check all of those boxes. The Brooks Ghost is a really good bet. And this DNA Loft V3 is just one of those foams that can really do it all. If you want to pick up the pace in it, if you want to run slow in it, if you want to go on a long run in this shoe, it really checks off all those boxes. And sometimes you don't need all of those bells and whistles to really get you to that finish line. Sometimes what you need is a tried and true daily trainer. And this shoe comes in at 8.8 ounces or 249 grams or 9.8 ounces or 277 grams for the men's model. And the shoe comes in at $140, which is similar to that of the Ride. Next, we're gonna move on to the Karhu Ikoni, and not many people actually know about Karhu, but it's actually a Finnish sportswear brand, and it is exclusively sold here at Fleet Feet. And it's actually one of the OG Karhu running shoes. It's their tried and true daily trainer. And what's actually really exciting about this shoe is that the actual last and fit model of this shoe is made up of over 100,000 data point images from Fleet Feet's Fit ID scanning system. So from a fit perspective and a lockdown perspective, it really doesn't get much better than this. It's just going to mold and fit to your foot really well. And the upper is made up of what Karhu calls an ideal knit mesh upper, and it just feels really good. And the upper is really the area that this shoe really thrives. It just wraps in your foot nicely like a cocoon, and it just has this really nice accommodating lacing system. It has nice padding around the heel collar and tongue, and overall just a really nice soft step-in feel. And the midsole is made up of aerofoam, which is a little bit firmer than that of other foams that we've been talking about, but it does have that really nice stable ride. One of the big things about the shoe is the fulcrum technology, which is just this plastic shank here in the back of the shoe, which just creates some nice propulsiveness. It creates stability in the shoe, and it's just one of those pieces of technology from Karhu that really shines. And this fulcrum piece here is really nice for just cradling that foot in for some guidance, and it just provides a really nice smooth transitioning from heel to toe. And the drop of the shoe comes in at 8 millimeters with 30 in the heel and 22 in the forefoot, so it is a little bit lower profile than the other drops and stacks that we've been talking about, but again, it still has really nice cushioning. And from an outsole perspective, it has standard outsole rubber. Really, we had no issues with outsole or traction. And for one of our reviewers, Heather, she actually found that the shoe wasn't too soft and it wasn't too firm, and it just offered a nice ride for an easy run. And this shoe comes in at $150, so it is only going to be $5 more than that of the Hoka Clifton, so it does fall into that same daily trainer price point. Next, we have the Asics Gel-Nimbus, and this is going to be a more heavily cushioned neutral daily trainer option and is one of the best sellers from Asics. Asics is now on their 26th version of the Nimbus, and I gotta say, it just gets better and better every year. This shoe is really gonna be best for those easy days and long run days, whether it's moderate runs or anything in between, but those really nice slow cruising miles, this shoe is gonna work best. The shoe is made up of an engineered knit upper. The tongue is nice and stretchy. It is a little bit thinner than that of the other shoes that we've talked about, and it does have a nice padded heel collar. But overall, this shoe is focused on comfort and had a really nice fit to it, and it fit true to size. The midsole is made up of Flight Foam Blast Eco, which is a more eco-friendly version of Flight Foam Blast that you can see in other models of their Asics shoes, and it still has that pure gel technology in the heel, so there is some gel in here for a little bit of shock absorption and protection on foot. And the drop of the shoe comes in at 8 millimeters, and for the men's model, a pretty high stack height at 42 in the heel and 34 in the forefoot, and for the women's model at 41 in the heel and 33 in the forefoot. So this is going to be one of the higher stack options that you can choose. And the outsole of this shoe is made up of a hybrid Asics grip, which is a really nice tacky rubber outsole here, and it's just one of those shoes that's going to hold up for a really long time. And for one of our reviewers, Kate, she found that this shoe is just so soft. It's just an emphasis on being a softer shoe for a daily trainer, but it has really nice cushioning around the heel collar, and just from an overall underfoot feel, she really enjoyed it. And this shoe, for how much stack it has, is pretty decent in weight, with 9.1 ounces in the women's model and 257 grams, or for the men's model at 10.8 ounces or 306 grams. So it is one of the heavier shoes that we're talking about today, but with how much stack there is, it definitely makes sense. And the price of this shoe comes in at $160. So again, you're gonna get a little bit more stack, you're gonna get a little bit more foam, you're gonna get a little bit more technology in this shoe. So it is going to cost a little bit more than the other shoes that we've talked about. Now moving back down in stack is the New Balance 880 V14. 13, which is another neutral daily trainer, but from New Balance. The upper is made up of an engineered mesh upper, and it is very breathable. It actually has a pretty thin upper here, but it has a pretty padded heel collar and tongue. The midsole is made up of Fresh Foam X, but not every compound of Fresh Foam X is the same. So you might get a little bit of a softer feel in, say, the More or the 1080, and you're gonna get a more balanced feel here in the 880. And the drop of this shoe comes in at 8 millimeters with 29 in the heel and 21 in the forefoot. So it is going to be a little bit of a lower profile option. And the outsole is made up of thick outsole rubber lugs, just really nice standard outsole rubber here, but we had no issues with traction or grip. We weren't really slipping out on the roads when we were testing this shoe either. So overall, really nice rubber outsole. And for one of our reviewers, Kate, she absolutely loves the 880 for why other people love it too. And she actually compared it similarly to that of a Honda Civic. Much like a Honda Civic, she said that this shoe just gets the job done. It's comfortable, it's affordable, and you just know that you can count on it. It's just that old, reliable. She also just happens to own a Honda Civic, so there could be some bias there, but I mean, overall, I tend to agree with her for sure. And the weight of this shoe comes in at 7.4 ounces or 209 grams for the women's model, or 9.5 ounces or 269 grams for the men's model, and it comes in at $140, similar to that of the Saucony Ride. And the last but not least shoe on our list here is the Altra Experience Flow. And man, just holding this shoe, it's super lightweight, but it is a neutral daily trainer from Altra, and Altra has been doing a lot in the shoe game, especially with developing shoes that now have 4 millimeter drops. They used to be 0 millimeter drop shoes for all of them, but now they have a mix of 0 drop shoes and 4 millimeter drop. And the upper of this shoe is made up of an engineered mesh, and it has a really roomy toe box here. And Altra uses what they call their original foot shape fit, which is actually a roomier and more accommodating fit, and it's going to be their wider last. The midsole is made up of Ego Flow midsole, so it is going to be a supercritical EVA foam. This shoe is going to be a little bit lighter than a traditional EVA. It's going to be a more responsive and just faster foam on foot than, say, a normal daily trainer would have. But again, it's just a really nice step and feel. But because of this supercritical feel in here, it's just a really lightweight package and a really lightweight option. It just feels really nice and airy on foot, nice and bouncy. And another thing to mention about this midsole is the rocker geometry design. So what you can actually tell is this shoe really has a nice rocker system as you roll through your stride. So that's something that I really enjoyed about it. And the drop of the shoe, like I mentioned, is 4 millimeters with 30 in the heel and 26 in the forefoot for the women's model, and a little bit higher for the men's at 32 in the heel and 28 in the forefoot. And this is actually Altra's highest stack daily trainer that they offer right now. And from an outsole perspective, again, similar to all of the other daily trainers that we've talked about, we've had no issues with any heel slippage, and we just found that the rubber was reliable and easy to work with. And for Caroline, she found that this shoe was really good for someone who was looking for something that is more accommodating as a wider foot feel. And like I mentioned, this shoe is definitely a lightweight one, and the shoe comes in at 8.4 ounces or 238 grams for the men's model, or 7.2 ounces or 204 grams for the women's model. Again, one of the lightest shoes that we've talked about so far. And this shoe is going to come in at $165. It is a little bit more on the premium side for Altra, but it is one of those really nice neutral daily trainers that you just can't skip out on. And if you're looking to try out any of these shoes from any of these brands, you can go into your local Fleet Feet store, get this shoe right off the wall, and try it on for it yourself. And if you're curious which one is going to fit best for you, you can go get your foot scanned and go through the Fit ID and outfitting experience, and just go through that and just see exactly what shoe is going to fit best for you. But if you want to learn even more about running shoes outside of just daily trainers, whether it's super shoes or super trainers or race day shoes, whatever you want to consider it, max cushion shoes, you can go check them out right here on our site, where we're going to be posting all new shoe reviews every week.